Hello and welcome back to the Curious Kid podcast. Has anybody ever asked you what you want to be when you grow up? Well, if you would have asked me that question when I was a little kid, I would have told you that I wanted to be an astronaut. That's what I wanted to be for a pretty long time. I remember dressing up as an astronaut for Halloween too. It turns out that I became a pharmacist instead. In order to become a pharmacist, I needed to work hard in school and get good grades. Pharmacy school is not easy, but I certainly think it's easier than the hard work and preparation I would have needed to do if I wanted to actually become an astronaut. Do you think you have what it takes to become an astronaut? Let's find out.
Mailbag!
Mailbag! Dear Olivia, can you get curious about astronaut training? Your podcast is 5 stars. From James G. of Ann Arbor, Michigan.
We totally can get curious about astronaut training for all our cosmic cadets out there. Let's go boldly where curiosity has never gone before.
Let's talk about something incredible. Something that pushes the limits of what humans can do.
We'll find out what it really takes to become an astronaut, and how they train their bodies and minds, and why it's harder than passing your math test upside down in zero gravity.
We're going to find out just how hard it is. But first, the question of the week.
The word astronaut comes from 2 Greek words. The Greek words are astron, nauts. The question of the week is, what does astronauts mean?
While you're thinking, let's find out how someone becomes an astronaut.
First of all, it's not as easy as signing up online. NASA gets thousands of applications for just a few spots.
NASA's astronaut program looks for people with degrees in science, engineering, math, or technology. Many astronauts were pilots, doctors, or scientists before joining.
So definitely go to school and get super smart if you want to be an astronaut. Got it. You also need at least 3 years of professional experience or 1,000 hours flying a jet aircraft.
Oh sure, because we all have jet aircraft lying around in the garage. You also have to pass a really tough physical test. Perfect vision, healthy heart, and the ability to survive high G-forces.
I guess no more junk food marathons on the couch then.
Nope. Astronauts have to be in amazing shape, both physically and mentally.
What about emotionally? I mean, I cry when my Wi-Fi disconnects.
You definitely want to work on that. Astronauts need to stay calm under pressure because, space?
So, Dad, who was the first astronaut to ever train for space?
That goes back to the 1960s, during the space race. Back then, NASA created the Mercury program and picked 7 military test pilots to become America's first astronauts.
I bet they were like, sure, I'll sit on top of a giant rocket full of explosive fuel and blast into the unknown.
Pretty much. They trained for years to handle the extreme conditions. They practiced flying jet planes, taking survival training, and even being spun around in giant centrifuges.
Ah, yes, the let's make you super dizzy machine. The centrifuge spins astronauts around in circles to simulate the high G-forces during launch.
I would last about 5 seconds before screaming.
And that's about average for non-astronauts. Real astronauts can handle up to 8 times the force of gravity pressing on them.
A lot of astronaut training also happens in classrooms. They study orbital mechanics, physics, chemistry, and spacecraft systems.
They have to understand every part of their spacecraft, how it flies, what every switch does, and what to do if something goes wrong.
I feel like just about anything can go wrong in space.
Exactly. They run through endless emergency scenarios. What to do if oxygen levels drop, if a computer crashes, or if a fire starts on board.
Fire behaves weirdly in microgravity. It forms floating spherical flames. Cool, but also horrifying. That's why astronauts practice putting them out safely. They train for every worst-case scenario.
Space school sounds like part college, part boot camp, and also part disaster movie.
That's one way to put it. Let's talk about the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. It's basically the biggest swimming pool in the world, about 202 feet long, 102 feet wide, and 40 feet deep.
It's where astronauts practice spacewalks underwater. Since we can't simulate zero gravity on Earth, floating underwater is the closest thing.
They wear real spacesuits and work on full-scale mock-ups of the International Space Station down there.
And the training lasts up to 6 hours at a time. They have divers assisting, cameras everywhere, and instructors giving commands. 6 hours underwater sounds like a lot. I can barely stay in the pool for 10 minutes without getting wrinkly fingers.
Well, the suits are pressurized and filled with cooling water to keep the astronauts from overheating.
Okay, but underwater isn't exactly space. How do they really practice zero gravity?
Good question. NASA uses a special plane nicknamed the Vomit Comet.
Please tell me that name is a joke.
Oh no, it's very real. The plane flies in steep arcs, up, then down, and during the drop, everyone inside experiences about 20 seconds of weightlessness.
Then, gravity slams back as the plane pulls up again. Hence, the vomit part.
Exactly. Astronauts and scientists do dozens of those arcs in a single flight. It helps them learn to move, eat, and work in zero gravity.
And if you're hearing all this and you're thinking, no big deal, I can handle the vomit comet, consider that you need to be super fit to be an astronaut. That's because your muscles and bones start to weaken in zero gravity.
Without gravity pulling on your body, you lose muscle mass and bone density fast. That's why astronauts have to work out 2 hours a day in space.
They use special equipment on the International Space Station, like a treadmill that straps them down with bungee cords, and a resistance machine that uses vacuum pressure instead of weights.
And there's also a stationary bike where you pedal while you're floating.
And if that's not enough, astronauts also do survival training.
Because when they land back on Earth, or sometimes after launch aborts, they could end up in remote areas like the ocean, the desert, or Siberian forests.
They learn to build shelters, light fires, find water, and signal for rescue.
Some astronauts even train in Arctic conditions or jungles to prepare for absolutely anything.
Since astronauts can't practice space travel in actual space, they use simulators, giant, high-tech machines that mimic spacecraft controls and movement.
NASA has simulators for spacewalks, for the space station, and even for flying spacecraft like the Space Shuttle or Orion.
They'll also practice what happens when everything goes wrong. They'll shut off systems, fake emergencies, and see how the crew reacts.
The goal is to train astronauts to stay calm and solve problems under extreme pressure.
Alright, I have to know. What's the deal with astronaut food?
You'd think it's all freeze-dried mush, but it's actually gotten pretty good. NASA engineers have been improving space cuisine for decades.
Today's astronauts eat burritos, mac and cheese, and even shrimp cocktails.
Since microgravity dulls your sense of taste, the food has to be extra flavorful to keep it interesting.
Drinks come in special pouches with straws that seal shut, so you don't end up with floating blobs of orange juice.
Astronauts also learn how to eat carefully, because crumbs and droplets can clog air filters or damage electronics.
Okay, I have to ask. Everyone wonders this. How do astronauts, go to the bathroom in space?
You just had to ask.
I'm doing it for the people.
Alright, the space toilet uses airflow instead of water. Fans suck waste away into containers.
Ew, so basically it's a vacuum cleaner for your butt?
You could say that, yes. Astronauts train extensively on Earth to use it. There's even a practice toilet with cameras to make sure they line up correctly.
I'm kind of sorry I asked.
Oh, it gets better. They also recycle water on the ISS. Yes, including water from, well, you know.
You mean pee? They recycle pee?
Yup. The astronauts' motto is, yesterday's coffee is tomorrow's coffee.
I'm never complaining about the school water fountain again.
And, as if all that isn't enough, Astronauts also go through mental training, teamwork drills, language lessons, and even spacewalk rehearsals.
Astronauts train for spacewalks, also called extravehicular activity, or EVAs. Each EVA can last up to 8 hours. Astronauts practice working with tools, fixing cables, and installing parts on mock-ups of the space station, all while underwater in one of those giant pools we discussed earlier. Oh, and one other thing. The spacesuits weigh 280 pounds here on Earth.
Teamwork is critical because the living area in the International Space Station is the size of a small apartment that you need to share with a few roommates. Astronauts need to be able to communicate clearly, solve problems together, and stay patient even when things get stressful.
Speaking of teamwork, there is one member of our team who has some crazy facts to share. Here with 5 unbelievable facts you need to know about astronaut training is Noah. Take it away, Noah.
Fact number 1. NASA's official astronaut training program is called Astronaut Candidate Training. It lasts about 2 years before they're considered full astronauts. Fact number 2. NASA requires astronauts to have excellent vision of 20/20. Fact number 3. You can't be taller than 6'4" to fit comfortably inside most spacecraft. Fact number 4. Astronauts have to memorize the layout of the International Space Station, which has more than 15 different modules. Fact number 5. Astronauts also train in something called planetary geology, so they can identify rocks and soil samples when exploring the moon or Mars.
Nice job with those facts, Noah. One more awesome fact to go before we wrap this episode up. The word astronaut has Greek origins, and it comes from the Greek words astron and nauts. What does astronauts mean?
Astron means star and nauts means sailor. So put them together and you get star sailor. Long before we had actual astronauts, the word was used in science fiction to describe a person traveling to space.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's podcast number 335 on astronaut training.
Great job, Olivia, and great job, James, for an episode topic suggestion that was out of this world. Join us next week when we will get curious about swimming for listeners in Maryland and Canada. As always, thank you so much for listening and getting curious with us.